incorporation. Christmas is approaching, and the thoughts of people all around the world are turning to the ancient story of Jesus' birth, as we find it in the Bible. So you might be forgiven for thinking that in our programming we would be doing the same. Instead, we have such Christmas crackers as Shopping for Christmas Bargains with Lucinda Flyover. Or how about Are They Really Christmas Songs? A collection of so-called Christmas songs sung by the choir of King's College Cleethorpes, which have no serious link to the season. And then there is Will There Be Snow at Christmas? A 2-hour-long discussion led by your favourite meteorologist, Brandon Yuletide. I kid you not. But before we get to enjoy this festive, flavoursome feast of wondrousness spread out before us through the medium of radio, we have, for your delectation, a short drama entitled Advent Cottage. This play is being broadcast live from Christchurch, Chilwell, in the fair city of Nottingham. As Christmas approaches, the Prophets Minor church drama group have been thinking long and hard, no, really, they do that sometimes, about the role of the angels in the story of Christmas. The world of the angels is a mysterious and hidden one. But now that we live in an age of transparency, special permission has been given for us to peep behind the curtain and observe the way things may have happened with the angels when Jesus was born. So, ladies and gentlemen, all those questions which have for so long been troubling your mind about Christmas, along with a fair few that I dare say haven't, are about to be answered.
Somewhere in the heavenlies is a house called Advent Cottage. It's not a big house. In fact, if it wasn't floating on a cloud, you'd hardly notice it. But it is this humble dwelling that the senior angels have decided to make their field headquarters for Operation Rescue. This is what they call the toppest of top secret plans for the overseeing of Jesus' life on earth. The most senior musical director in the Angel Army, Maestro Falsetto, has arrived at the cottage, as have the first company of soldier angels. This gives Maestro Falsetto an opportunity to test a theory that he has had for some time.
Okay, try this note. You were singing a note somewhere around here. So, now I'm going to play the note you are close to singing, and I want you to listen to this note, and when you're ready, sing it. Well, I've learned something today, Soldier Barry. Until now, I've never believed there was such a thing as a person who is genuinely tone deaf, but you've proven me wrong. The ghastly noise that came out of your mouth demonstrates clearly that you are really unable to make any kind of connection with a musical note. I've never come across before a person who has such a disastrous ear for music, Soldier Barry.
Very kind of you to say so, sir. I'm glad I was able to help.
Do you enjoy listening to music? Can you be moved by something you hear?
Well, I'm more of a rhythm person myself, sir. I march to the beat of a drum. And when I am marching into battle against Satan and all of his minions, I feel at my most alive. I am doing exactly what I have been made to do. Sure, it gets a bit chaotic at times, but I never let that worry me. As a soldier, it's not my job to defeat a whole army of minions on my own, just a minion that's standing in front of me. And when I've destroyed him, I go and I fight the next one. Well now, tell me, Maestro, sir, if there isn't a part of you itching to march into battle with me?
No, there is no part of me that would like to do that.
Falling with you, Maestro, sir, but we soldiers are simple folk, sir. We may cry at times, but that tends to be when we see the suffering of the innocent. or the abuse of the weak by the minions, or those humans that have sided with the evil one. I want to help, you see. When I observe the terrible things that those who walk in the darkness do, I want to step in and fight against them. But firstly, I obey orders. Sometimes the orders are, go and stop this, and then I'm straight in there with my sword. But more often the order is to, stand to, soldier. And then I cry, because I can only watch and do nothing to intervene. That's when it's hard to be a soldier.
Yes, I can understand what you're saying. The Almighty has made you to wrestle with demons, but my wrestling is done with music, musicians and choirs.
Well, I'd rather deal with my sort of problems than with yours.
Yes, so let us be glad the Almighty knew what he was doing when he made us for different purposes. But tell me, Soldier Barry, why have you come here today?
Dear listener, we shall spare you the remainder of this conversation because it's not very interesting. Soldier Barry's company complete their recce of Advent Cottage and report back to the Archangel Helga. She then moves into the cottage with her retinue of senior officers. At this point, Captain Gabriel of the Royal Signals Regiment was summoned to be given a special mission. He arrives at Advent Cottage just as the maestro falsetto is sat at the piano, seeking inspiration for a song he believes God wants him to write. He sings part of the song just as Captain Gabriel is brought into the cottage by Colonel Dotty, the aide-de-camp of Archangel Helga.
Thank you.
Good evening, Captain.
Good evening, Maestro Falsetto, sir. I like the song you're playing. Does it have a name?
Object, Captain.
Gabriel.
Gabriel, are you at all musical?
I'm afraid I lack the discipline required to learn an instrument.
Yes, that seems to be quite common.
I hope you don't mind me saying, but I didn't understand that line in your song about loving me through the nails in the tree.
Neither do I, Captain. The line just came to me. It seems to be what wants to be in the song, but I expect it will change in the final version. That's how songwriting works. Here comes the Archangel Helga and Colonel Dotty.
My dear Maestro Falsetto, could you give us a minute?
Of course, Archangel Helga.
Maestro Falsetto could take a hint, so he left the Archangel Helga, Colonel Dotty and Captain Gabriel, so that they could have their confidential conversation.
Archangel Helga, may I introduce Captain Gabriel of the Royal Signals.
Good to meet you, Captain. You're a bit of a legend around here, I believe.
Thank you, Ma'am. I hope for the right reasons.
Mostly, Captain, mostly. The Colonel and I have something we'd like you to do, which I can confidently say will put your name in the history book.
Happy to help if I can.
Good. Colonel Dotty, please explain the situation to Captain Gabriel.
Yes, ma'am. Well now, Captain, what I am about to tell you is top secret. If word of this operation gets out, it will have to be postponed and rescheduled to a much later date. Is that clear?
Very clear.
Good. Well, Operation Rescue is the name which has been given to God's plan to save the world.
Operation Rescue. I like the sound of that name. Hi-ya! Hey! Whoosh! Choo! Yeah! Hey! Yeah!
I expect you're aware, Captain. The plan is for God's Son to be born into the world as an ordinary human being so that he can become the bridge, as it were, by which people could connect with God.
All clear so far?
Yes, Mum.
Our enemy, Satan, knows that this is going to happen, but he doesn't know when this will happen, nor where our Lord Jesus will grow up. He is hoping that the wicked King Herod or the evil Roman Empire will kill Jesus before he can do anything to break Satan's deadly hold over the human race.
Not if I have anything to do with...
So, Captain Gabriel, your job is simple but dangerous. The mother of Jesus has been chosen. She lives in a small town called Nazareth. You need to find her and tell her she's going to have God's baby. We can't have her finding herself pregnant with no idea as to how or why it's happened or who the baby is. Hardly fair. Any questions, Captain Gabriel?
Is this woman...
Mary?
Mary, right. Is Mary married?
Well, she's engaged to a chap named Joseph. He seems a good sort. Obviously, those who did their research to find a suitable mother also took into consideration the lad she was due to marry.
But they're not married yet.
No, and that's important. We don't want people to think our Lord Jesus is just the son of Joseph.
Well, I understand that, Mom, but I was just wondering if enough thought had been given to how my message might be received by both Mary and Joseph.
Received? Of course this has been considered. The overseeing angels responsible for planning this part of Operation Rescue are the brightest and the best, the top brains in their field of expertise, understanding human beings. Of course they've thought about how your message would be received by both of them.
And may I ask what conclusion they came to, sir?
The conclusion? That Mary is someone who loves God and would feel terribly honoured to be the mother of his child.
And Joseph?
Well, I don't know. I suppose they thought that he would just be equally excited by the news.
Is there a problem, Captain?
Archangel Helga, Mom, I think there might be a problem. I am being ordered to go to an unmarried woman and casually tell her that the Almighty is going to have a son through her. And it occurs to me that this news might just freak her out. Or if it doesn't do that, it may go down like a lead balloon with her fiancé.
We don't want that to happen. I'm a reasonable person, Captain Gabriel. So if there is something else that we could do to help our communicating our message to this woman and her man without, as you say, freaking them both out, I'd certainly consider any suggestions that you may have.
Well, with your permission, I would like to discuss it further with some of my colleagues in Signals. A small group of angels I can trust. I can't at this moment guarantee we could come up with something, but I think it would be a worthwhile exercise to do.
You understand that we do not have much time, Captain, and that you cannot share this information with more than, let's say, 3 members of your regiment. We must keep this operation secret, if it's going to happen at all.
Yes, Mom, I understand. I shall report back to you within 2 days, if that's okay.
Yes, but no more, Captain. If you can't think of anything better within the next 2 days, we will go ahead with the plan as it was originally set out.
Yes, thank you, Mom. You will hear from me shortly.
As the captain leaves the room, the Archangel Helga wonders out loud.
Dottie, do you think this Captain Gabriel knows what he is doing?
I sincerely hope so, Mom.
The next thing that happens is that Captain Gabriel gathers 3 colleagues together to talk through the mission he's been given.
So, to conclude, we have very little time to come up with a suggestion for helping this young woman receive the news that she is miraculously pregnant with a long-promised Messiah.
And may I suggest something, Captain Gabriel?
Certainly, Sergeant Phyllis, so what's on your mind?
Well, Corporal Ronald and I have been discussing this, and we were wondering if cake might be the answer to this problem.
I'm sorry, cake? I don't understand.
Well, If I'm ever needing to have a difficult conversation with someone, I usually find sitting down with them with a slice of cake and a nice cup of tea can be very helpful. And Corporal Ronald does make exceptionally good cupcakes. He did an army baking course recently, didn't you, Ronald?
That's right, Sergeant Phyllis. I wanted to do something to develop my creative side. The course taught me everything I know about baking. In fact, I brought some cupcakes with me for people to try.
I say, well done, Ronald, old chap. I love cupcakes.
Thank you, sir.
I'm absolutely famished. Upon my word, sir, these cakes are positively scrummy. Do we know if this young woman likes cake?
No, we don't. Those who chose her for the job do not seem to have asked that question. But cake or no cake, nothing guarantees a good reaction to the kind of news we have to deliver.
Sir, are you thinking of making a dramatic entrance? Being enveloped in flames will usually get people's attention.
Thanks for the suggestion, Corporal. I'm not too worried about getting her attention. I understand she lives quite a quiet life, so I'm guessing she'll notice when I, a stranger, turn up, but I should have a trick in the pocket just in case.
I'm a hugger, sir, and I think if I had to give some young filly this message, I'd want to give her a really big hug. What? Could you give her a hug, sir?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that would be appropriate.
Too emotionally vulnerable?
Well, no, I hear what you're saying, Lieutenant, but part of the aim is to make sure people understand this is God's child, and certainly nothing to do with me.
Oh dear. You mean, if somebody saw you hugging her, they might think that there's something going on?
Yes, that would be a concern.
Well, I'm glad I'm not charged with giving her the message. I always get so emotional with anything to do with babies. Whereas our lieutenant here is a hugger. I'm a crier, sir. She'd be crying, I'd be crying. It'd all be a complete mess.
We're not trying to choose who is going to tell her the news. We're just trying to see if there's a better way of doing it.
Sir, I know this might sound stupid, but have you thought of having a trial run with another person to see how they react to being told by an angel that they're going to have a baby?
Yes, I have thought of that. But then there is the question, who would we try the message out on?
I say that could be a bit awkward. You don't want to lie to someone, tell them they're going to have a baby when they're not.
And if you told any ordinary person who was married that they would have a baby, thereby hinting that there's something special about the baby, the parents would spend the rest of their lives scratching their heads, wondering why they had a visitation from an angel to tell them they were going to have their perfectly ordinary baby.
So what we need is a baby who would turn out to be significant and who might warrant an angel announcing that he was on his way.
In the sacred book of Malachi, isn't somebody like Elijah meant to announce the arrival of our Lord Jesus when he starts his ministry? If he hasn't already been born, then his parents might be good people to try out the message on.
It's a good idea, Phyllis. I can make some inquiries. The planners of the operation must have decided by now who the person representing Elijah will be. I could then make an announcement to his parents.
Sir, I believe it's old Zechariah and his wife Elizabeth who are going to be given a baby boy. My chum Waggers in Special Ops told me about it. They're childless and old, but the Almighty likes them. I reckon they'd be perfect for our little experiment.
I wonder if the best time to speak to them would be when they're in the zone, in the middle of worship in the synagogue.
I like what you're saying, old girl, but not possible, I'm afraid. They won't be at their local synagogue this weekend because Zechariah has been selected to do the prayers for the temple in Jerusalem. It's a bally shame because it would have been a perfect moment for dropping the news on them. Perhaps after we delivered the message, we could have got someone else in the synagogue to confirm the message by telling them, I have a sense that God has a special gift for the two of you. It's a poor show, but we'll have to think of something else, I'm afraid.
Zechariah's doing the annual prayers in the holy place in the Jerusalem temple? But that would be a perfect time to talk with Zechariah one-to-one, face-to-face. What time is it happening?
Well, it's happening at midday today. But it's such an important event, sir, that I think we probably need a proof from the top brass.
I agree. Well, at least we have a plan now. I'll talk with the Archangel Helga and Colonel Dotty about it. I'll be wanting you guys to be watching not only when I give the news to Zechariah, but how Elizabeth reacts when he passes the news on to her.
Righto, sir. That won't be a problem.
Will permission be granted for our heroes to carry out this crazy plan? How will Zechariah react to the experience of coming face to face with an angel? Will Corporal Ronald's cupcakes prove to be a big hit with the signals team, especially when enjoyed with a nice cup of tea? All these questions, or at least some of these questions, will be answered after the commercial break.
Do you live in the region of Bethlehem?
Do you have lots of sheep? Do you have no sheep herding skills whatsoever?
Then contact
Sheep
Rain or shine,
day or night. We know what the sheep are like.
Sheep
because we care, so you don't have to. Ever written anything nasty about King Herod?
Ever said anything nasty about King Herod?
Ever thought anything nasty about King Herod?
You need
swift removals.
We can get you out of the country quickly.
We won't ask any questions.
We give no refunds.
Swift removals.
You take the risk,
we take the money.
Has your camel got the hump?
Are you tired of wobbling on your camel's back?
Do your long camel journeys just seem to get longer and longer?
Star Travel can fix all your travelling needs.
With a wide range of donkeys to suit all shapes and sizes.
Modern travel for the modern you.
Star Travel.
Follow the star.
Dear listeners, you may be surprised to hear that the plan with Zechariah didn't go quite as expected. Well, it turned out that the setting was all wrong. Zechariah was already feeling stressed out by his role in the temple that day. He'd had a bad night's sleep the night before, and then been overloaded with advice from a small group of temple bigwigs who clearly did not like the fact that some nobody like Zechariah had been selected to say the prayers. These senior chaps in the temple forgot that there was just a curtain between them and poor Zechariah, so he could hear every snide comment that they made to each other about him. Already feeling completely out of his depth, he then came face to face with the angel, Captain Gabriel, when he appeared from out of nowhere with his rather unexpected message. All Zechariah could remember afterwards was the message that he and Elizabeth were going to have a son and that they should call him John. What he was slower to tell anyone afterwards was that he hadn't believed a word of it. Captain Gabriel had had to resort to radical measures to ensure his message was taken seriously. But what was he to do, I hear you ask? Yes? Anybody? Oh, well, I'll tell you anyway. For some reason, much of this was not mentioned in the Bible story. Captain Gabriel had some background research done on Zechariah before appearing in front of him at the temple. Unfortunately, it had left him with the mistaken impression that Zechariah was known in the neighborhood where he grew up as Motormouth Zach. Actually, that name referred to someone else with the same name who Zechariah shared a classroom with. To distinguish between the two Zechariahs, their school chums always referred to our Zechariah as Quiet Zach, and the louder Zechariah as the aforementioned Motormouth Zach. So, getting confused between the two Zechariahs, Gabriel thought it would make a strong impact to take Zechariah's power of speech away, as a sign to him and others that the message he has given was important and should be believed. So, dear listeners, this is where we continue our story.
Captain Gabriel returned to Advent Cottage after his meeting with Zechariah, and the first thing he did was report to Colonel Dotty about what happened.
So, let me be clear about this, Captain. You appeared to Zechariah as an angel?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you clearly identified yourself as an angel. You weren't in disguise as an ordinary human being.
No, sir.
Okay. And did he seem afraid when he saw you?
That was certainly my impression, sir.
And did you use the standard phrase, "fear not," when he first saw you?
Fear not, yes, sir. I gave him the standard opening words as per section 96.4, subsection 15, paragraph 3 of the How to Greet a Human Being Rules and Regulations clause of the Heavenly Angel Training Manual. To be honest, sir, he was looking very fearful, so it was the obvious thing for me to have said.
And in spite of all that, he still didn't believe you when you told him that Elizabeth would have a baby, which they were to call John.
That's right, sir. I have to say that I was really taken by surprise when he didn't believe me. Did he not know that God's angels cannot lie?
Well, apparently he didn't.
Well, I had to think on my feet, sir, and I just decided that I had to use some of the power entrusted in me in order to make it plain to him that what I said was true. Did I do the right thing, sir?
Yes, Captain Gabriel, I expect you did. However, I have to say, the Archangel Helga and I are both shocked by what has happened. His unwillingness to believe your message won't really matter too much in the long run, but if Mary doesn't believe what you tell her, well, that's a different story altogether. Have you done any post-event analysis with your team yet?
No, sir, they're coming over now, so I should be able to give you a full report with our recommendations in the next few hours.
Thank you, Captain Gabriel. We will look forward to reading that.
By the way, sir, do we have any idea of what they would have named the baby if I hadn't told them to call him John?
Hobbesup.
I'm sorry?
Hobbesup. It was Zechariah's father's name, and there are lots of Hobbesups in the family, so we think that's what they'd have named him if you hadn't spoken to Zechariah. I think you did the baby a great service, Captain.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
At this point, Colonel Dotty went to discuss matters with the Archangel Helga, leaving Captain Gabriel to discuss the day's events with his team.
Right then, guys, gather round for the review. You will have just seen Colonel Dotty leave. She and the Archangel Helga are very concerned by today's turn of events. We now need to come up with recommendations for the best way to give Mary her message. Lieutenant Toppers, will you start us off, please? What can we learn from today's events?
Well, sir, I wonder in hindsight if the heightened tension of being in the most holy part of the temple, doing a once-in-a-lifetime duty before the Almighty, was actually what caused Zechariah to come over all unnecessary when he was face-to-face with an angel, you.
I think you have a good point, Lieutenant. Does anyone else agree?
Yes. And may I raise another point of issue, sir?
Yes, of course, Sergeant Phyllis.
I know an angel who has studied human psychology and is highly regarded as an expert in the field of human communication. I thought he might have some words of wisdom for us about communication with humans. So I asked him if he'd be available to meet with us today. He's waiting outside the cottage if we want to call him in and question him. Otherwise, I should go and let him know he's not needed.
And you think this big-brained Johnny will have something interesting to tell us, do you, Sergeant Phyllis?
Well, he usually does, sir.
Yes, all right then, but let me do the talking so we don't give away more information than we should do. You can go and fetch him, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Phyllis then left the room, returning a few minutes later with Dr. Anselvich.
Captain Gabriel, Lieutenant Toppers and Corporal Ronald, may I introduce you to Dr. Anselvich, human psychologist and director of the Angelic Sanatorium and the Home for the Bewildered.
Thank you for coming, Dr. Anselvich.
Anselvich. Sergeant Phyllis told me you have a problem, which I might be able to help you with.
Yes, well, that would be fantastic if you could, Dr. Spandlebit?
Anselvich!
Yes, quite well. It's a simple problem, Doctor. So let me just explain. We, that is I, have to deliver a message from the Almighty to a young woman. And I'm trying to find a way of doing it that doesn't just freak her out.
Ah, yes. Have you begun by using the official "Fear Not" statement?
Well, not with her, but I used it recently with someone else, and he did freak out. It seems that just by saying those words, the human response is to do exactly what you're telling them not to do.
That is quite right. The infamous "Fear Not" statement was put in the manual a long time ago, and so is assumed to be correct. I have raised the matter with those higher up, but it just seems to be logical to them, and so they keep it in.
So what should I say, Dr.
Anselvich?
Anselvich.
Instead of starting with the "Fear Not" statement, which is what I call a very heavy and dark statement, you should start with something light and fluffy. Give her a happy greeting and talk to her as if there is no reason in the world why you shouldn't be having a conversation with her.
So you mean that instead of saying "fear not," our first words should be something like, "What, hello, old girl? Very excited to make your acquaintance. Been living here long?"
Yes, well, something like that. Let us suppose your task is to give a message to a woman called Gloria.
I have a friend called Gloria.
That's nice, Corporal, but this is a different Gloria, I think. Anyway, you might start with something like this. Greetings, Gloria. You are someone that the Lord God is particularly happy with. Then Gloria will think, this is a friendly person. And she'll feel like the child who has just been given a gold star on the Almighty's best behaved children's chart. You see, the "Fear Not" statement is the sort of thing a human parent says to their child when they're going to the doctors for an injection. Don't be afraid. Thanks to the injection, you won't catch this horrible disease in the future. Meanwhile, the child is much more focused on the whopping great needle the doctor's going to stick into their arm.
I hear what you're saying, Doctor. And I think that we will clearly need to look again at the message I am shortly going to deliver. I expect that the Sergeant has told you we are preparing for a very secret mission, so I hope you will keep anything you have heard to yourself. And thank you for coming and giving us your thoughts.
Happy to help, Captain.
Dr. Anselvich left Advent Cottage and returned to his sanatorium and Home for the Bewildered. On his journey back, he made the very significant decision which transformed his future life. He decided to change his name to Frank.
Well, my fellow angels, I think we've done some useful analysis today. I shall write it up and give Colonel Dotty the report. But now there is something completely different for you three to do. The Maestro at Falsetto has been ordered to put together a choir as part of Operation Rescue. He was telling me earlier on that he doesn't know exactly where this fits into the operation, but hopefully it will become clear in due course. I have to write this report, so I won't be able to join the choir today, but you three can. What are you doing, Corporal Ronald?
Sorry, sir, did you say something?
Why are you putting earplugs in your ears?
Oh, I find, sir, that if I can hear the others in the choir, it seriously affects my singing. So I put earplugs on so I can't hear them.
Sir, I realise this might sound a bit bonkers, but Corporal Ronald does sing quite well when he has his earplugs in. However, when he doesn't have his earplugs in, he might sing a bit of tenor, followed by some bass, or even moving into the alto part, or even soprano. In fact, he will just follow whichever is the loudest voice.
I see. Thank you for explaining that to me, Sergeant Phyllis. And now the three of you should go to the choir practice. Here comes Maestro Falsetto now.
So, whilst Captain Gabriel goes off to find a quiet place to write his report, Maestro Falsetto, the Archangel Helga, Colonel Dotty, and other angels walk onto the stage and prepare to sing.
Archangel Helga, thank you for coming to the first performance of the new song I've written to fit in with the Operation Rescue. I know you're very busy, sir, so this won't take long. Although I've composed the song for the occasion, I'm not sure it's exactly what's required because I've been told very little about the operation. So if you could listen to the choir sing this song and let me know what you think.
Certainly, Maestro Falsetto, happy to.
OK, choir, take it from the top.
Jesus is riding, is riding, is riding. Jesus is riding, the sun in the sky. Jesus is riding to save all his people, saving the lost with a love from on high. Hey ho, he is coming from the heavens. Hey ho, he will save the one from sin. Hey ho, he is giving life eternal. Gathering together we will welcome Jesus in. Jesus is sleeping, he's sleeping, he's sleeping. Jesus is sleeping cause he's not afraid. Jesus is sleeping to show his disciples he is the Lord of the world he has made. Hey ho, he is coming from the heavens. Hey ho, he will save the world from sin. Hey ho, he is giving life eternal. Gathering together we will welcome Jesus in. Jesus is dying, is dying, is dying. Jesus is dying, he's paying the price. Jesus is dying, so wounded and beaten, dying for us so that all may have life. Hey ho, he is coming from the heavens. Hey ho, he will save the world from sin. Hey ho, he is giving life eternal. Gathering together we will welcome Jesus in. Jesus is calling, is calling, is calling. Jesus is calling to you and to me. Jesus is calling you mountains and valleys, making a way for the people to sing. Hey ho, he is coming from the heavens. Hey ho, he will save the world from sin. Hey ho, he is giving life eternal. Gathering together we will welcome Jesus in.
So, what do you think? Is that the right sort of song for the occasion?
How can I put this?
You don't like the song?
No, I love the song. I just wonder though if it needs to be a little more solemn.
More solemn? I don't think that song would sound right if it was sung in a solemn way. We could give it a try.
No, I think you're right. So perhaps you need to think about it and maybe come up with a different song.
Come up with another song?
Yes, you see, this song is going to be announcing the birth of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So I think it needs to be a little more solemn than this song is able to be.
Solemn. OK, thank you, choir. Please hand your song sheets in as you go. I'll let you know when the next choir practice is. Corporal Ronald, can I have a word with you, please?
Captain Gabriel has now been to see Mary to tell her that she will be pregnant with a baby from God. She took it rather well. There was no need for Gabriel to use his special powers on this occasion. He left Mary praising God for trusting and honouring her with a mission such as this, even though she didn't fully understand what the repercussions might be. But not everyone at Advent Cottage was celebrating this as mission accomplished. Some of the planners and overseers of Operation Rescue were very concerned that things might yet end up going terribly wrong. Here come two of them now, Overseers Gwen and Mildred, with Captain Gabriel.
So, Captain Gabriel, as far as you are concerned, the message from the Almighty was delivered and received by Mary.
That is correct, Overseer Gwen. The mission was carried out as per instructions from the Archangel Helga and Colonel Dotty. Mary received the message very well. In fact, when I left her, she was giving every indication that she both believed what I had told her and accepted it. She was even singing a song of praise to the Almighty.
Well, you can't say fairer than that, can you, Mildred?
I think you most definitely can say fairer than that, Overseer Gwen. Captain Gabriel, if you carried out your instructions exactly as you were told to, how do you explain the fact that the man Mary is betrothed to, Joseph, is now considering cancelling their wedding? That was never in our plan.
With due respect, Overseer Mildred, it was always a possibility that Joseph might not have believed Mary's story about being pregnant with the Almighty's child.
Nonsense. I vetted Joseph myself and he scored top points on almost all aspects of his character to do with his relationship with the Almighty.
I'm sure he did, but humans are well known for their ability to think about something in completely the wrong way, and yet be absolutely certain that they are right. In my opinion, what we should have done was made the announcement to both of them at the same time. That would have made things a lot easier.
Thank you for your opinion, Captain Gabriel. But it was agreed by the planning and oversight team that the message was for Mary, and only Mary. As we anticipated, Mary's parents have had no trouble believing that Mary's baby is from God. So why wouldn't Joseph believe it?
I think the difference is that Joseph has a choice. He can either go ahead and marry Mary or, because of the change in her circumstances, marry someone else instead. However, Mary's parents would never stop being her parents, and they could never stop loving her or being on her side. So I truly believe that Joseph's potential feelings needed to be given more consideration.
Oh my word, Captain Gabriel, you're very clever in your thinking. Perhaps, Mildred, the good captain didn't make a mistake.
Maybe you were right, Overseer Gwen, but I'm afraid I was left with no option than to call for a full inquiry to find out what went wrong regarding Joseph. This means that Captain Gabriel, you are suspended from any duties concerning Operation Rescue until the inquiry has reached its conclusions.
But surely, Overseer Mildred, we don't have to suspend Captain Gabriel, do we?
This is not a full suspension, Gwen. He just can't do any further work on Operation Rescue until the inquiry has come to its conclusions. And that is final.
Overseers Mildred left the other two and went to write up a report for the Oversight Committee. She was conscientious like that.
Oh dear, Captain Gabriel, whilst Mildred is probably doing what she's meant to be doing, it must be hard on you. I'm very sorry about this. Please don't take it personally. Mildred doesn't enjoy the pleasure that comes with being an overseer of an operation.
So why did she become an overseer then?
She accidentally volunteered by sticking her hand up in the air when Archangel Helga had just asked the question, is anyone here willing to take on the job of overseer for a special operation?
So what did she think she was volunteering for?
Oh, nothing. She'd just spotted a friend of hers and was waving to her. It was just a case of poor timing, I'm afraid. But in the meantime, we'll have to hand the operation over to your second in command. Is that Lieutenant Toppers?
Yes, that's correct, sir. Lieutenant Toppers is a very competent angel, and since he will be working closely with two other excellent Royal Signals personnel, I'm sure this matter will get sorted out very quickly.
Sadly, this is the last we see of Captain Gabriel in the Christmas story. But don't worry, listeners, the mission is still safe in the hands of our three competent and highly professional signals team. They know what needs to be done and are, at this very moment, laser focused on the problem in hand.
Oh, I've got it. The 9 goes in this box, which blocks off this line, which means you can place the 5 here, and thereby complete the centre box. That should make it a lot easier, sir.
I say, you're right, Sergeant Phyllis. Good show. I think you're much better at Sudoku than I am. You've got eyes that see, Phyllis, old girl. I just look at this game and all I see is a load of bally numbers. I don't see the patterns that you do.
Beg your pardon, sir, but shouldn't we be working on the problem of Joseph that we've been told to sort out?
Ah, quite so, Corporal Ronald. Thank you for reminding me. But the problem we've been given to solve is that of Joseph, who, quite inexplicably to the operation overseers, found it hard to believe that his fiancée's pregnancy was due to an act of the Almighty.
Sir, might I ask who will be delivering the next message to Joseph?
I think that would probably be me, Sergeant. Certainly that was the impression I got from Colonel Dotty.
Very good, sir. And do you have some thoughts about where and how to deliver this message to Joseph?
My initial thought was that I would whisper it to him during prayers when the people in Nazareth gather in the synagogue on the Sabbath day. What do you guys think?
Terrific!
Well, sir, that may be a little bit difficult.
How so, Corporal Ronald?
Sir, I have been told by someone that Joseph has stopped going to the synagogue.
What do you mean he stopped going to the synagogue?
As you know, sir, there are a company of soldier angels stationed at Nazareth to keep an eye on things there. Well, I spoke to one of them and he asked me to come here today and tell you what he told me. He's outside now. Shall I ask him to come in?
Yes, please do.
Come in, please, Soldier Barry. Soldier Barry, you told me earlier today that you are a part of the company of soldier angels who are guarding the town of Nazareth. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Corporal. And I'm very happy to have been assigned to such an important job like that, sir. Proper happy I was, and am, to be based in Nazareth, sir. Although, sir, if you don't mind me saying so, sir, I'm not sure why we were based there. It seems to be a place where nothing very much happens. Taking a liberty, sir, I think I could be of more use to you someplace where there's a bit more action, if you know what I mean, sir. Not that I'm complaining, you understand, sir? Happy to go wherever you want me to, I am. These are just my thoughts, sir, just my thoughts.
Soldier Barry, we're not wanting to hear about every random thought you have.
No, sir, of course not. Cool.
We just want to know about Joseph of Nazareth.
Joseph of Nazareth? Yes, cool. What can I tell you, sir?
Well, he told me that he had stopped going to the synagogue.
Yes, sir. He's a very religious man, you see. Always at the synagogue on the Sabbath. Always praying, sir, he was. He had what you might call a regular conversation with the Almighty. Lovely sight to behold, sir.
So he's still going regularly to the synagogue?
Who, sir?
Joseph of Nazareth. We're talking about Joseph of Nazareth.
Oh, no, sir. He doesn't go to the synagogue anymore, sir. No, sir.
Do you still have this conversation, as you call it, with the Almighty?
Well, now, sir, I can't say for certain. It's not my job to listen in to a man's communication with the Almighty. But what I can say is that he doesn't look like he's praying much these days.
So why do you think that is, Soldier...
Barry, sir. Not sure how I got the name, sir, but that's my name.
Perfectly good name for a soldier angel.
Oh, very, very good of you to say so, sir.
Now then, Barry, the lieutenant asked you why you think Joseph of Nazareth has stopped going to the synagogue and had apparently stopped praying.
Yes, sir. Beg your pardon, sir. Well, I am just a simple soldier, angel, sir, but it seems to me that Joseph of Nazareth has strong feelings, sir. Me and the other angels in the company watching over Nazareth have talked about it amongst ourselves, you understand, sir. And some of the lads think he's embarrassed about his girlfriend getting pregnant. Everyone in the synagogue pointing and whispering. We don't think he likes that, and so he stays away. But what do we know, sir? There may be some other perfectly good reason.
And why do you and the lads think he stopped praying?
Me and the lads haven't talked about that, sir. But for myself, I would say that one of the big reasons why people stop praying is because they is angry with the Almighty. Well, having seen how much Joseph and Mary seemed to love each other before she got pregnant, and then given the fact that he is not claiming to be the father of the baby, well, a man might feel he has a good reason to feel angry with the Almighty because things have not worked out as he had hoped they would. Those are just my humble thoughts, sir. Just my humble thoughts.
Yes, thank you, Soldier Barry, for your humble thoughts. That's all for now. Now, you mustn't talk to anyone about this, soldier. The whole Bowley operation rescue could fall apart if you talk to anyone about it. I hope that's clear. You can now return to your company in Nazareth.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And as they say, I shall be as silent as the grave, sir.
From what Soldier Barry has told them, it is now clear to our three signallers that their thoughts on the best way to approach Joseph need to change.
Well, this is an old do, no mistake, what?
Sir, would you mind if I asked you something?
Fire away, what's on your mind?
Sir, this is just out of curiosity. I was wondering, nobody else I've ever met talks like you with your whattos and goodjos and what's. So I was wondering where this way of speaking comes from.
I say, don't you know, Sergeant? Well, about 50 years ago, I was sent to a small country north of here that the Romans were trying to conquer. It was called Britain. All the people in the country talked just like that, and we angels stationed over there just picked it up from them. But let's get on with business, what? So it would appear that the synagogue is not the best place to try and get a message to Joseph.
No, sir. And if Soldier Barry is correct about Joseph stopping praying, which he may be, we might have to wait a while if we're going to speak to Joseph while he's praying. Have we got the time to wait, sir?
No, we haven't, Sergeant. Mary's already pregnant, so we need to bring about a swift reconciliation, certainly before Jesus is born. So I'm looking for suggestions as to how to move forward with this.
Well, sir, we could give him the message through a dream when he's asleep. I've heard of an angel who claims to specialise in communicating with humans in this way. I could make some inquiries. I'm sure someone around here will know the Dream Whisperer.
The Dream Whisperer? Surely that's not his real name.
No, sir, but that's what everybody knows him as. I believe he's done this job successfully before.
I say, dream whispering, that's a good idea, Sergeant. As it happens, I've just read a book on dream whispering. It seemed perfectly simple to me. Just a few basic rules you have to bear in mind. I think any old Charlie could do it. I don't think we need some strange dream whisperer Johnny to do it for us. How difficult can it be?
Presumably, Joseph is sleeping for at least some of the night, so there should be plenty of opportunity to communicate with him in this way. Do you have any idea what you will say to him, sir?
I'll keep it short. The main thing is to communicate the message that he shouldn't feel distressed about the situation with Mary because the baby is from the Almighty.
That sounds good, sir.
Great. Well, I shall work on the first draft of my message to Joseph and we'll give it a try tonight. While I'm doing that, Maestro Falsetto has come up with a new song for the choir to sing on the day of Jesus' birth. He's asked for every available angel to come to the music room to perform the song to the Archangel Helga. So, can you two go along and join the choir to run through the song? Then come back to me to help me finish off the message.
Thank you for coming, my fellow angels. It looks like you've got all the music in front of you. Now, I'm dividing you into 3 groups. They're colour-coded. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3. Good. Any questions? No? Good. Hopefully, Archangel Helga, this will be solemn enough for you.
Glory to God in the highest heaven.
Well, sir, is that solemn enough for you?
Well, my dear Maestro Falsetto, both the songs you have written and which your choir have sung to me have been quite excellent. And this one was certainly solemn enough for me.
But? I sense there's a but coming.
Well, it's just that...
Yes?
Well, I've only just been told this, but your choir is going to be performing the songs to the shepherds on the hills around Bethlehem.
Shepherds. But they wouldn't know solemn if it danced in front of their face holding a big banner with the word solemn written on it.
Well, it is true that most shepherds can't read, but I believe they would have their own idea of what solemn is, and it's that which your song needs to have. You've mastered solemn for the already cultured. All you need to do now is work out how to do solemn for the less cultured. Thank you, everyone. Your singing was wonderful.
Yes, thank you, choir. How on earth do I do a song that's solemn for humans who have no idea what solemn means?
As everyone leaves, one angel stays behind, since he has no work to be getting on with. Also, Captain Gabriel wants to bring some encouragement to Maestro Falsetto.
Well, if it's any consolation, Maestro Falsetto, I thought your solemn music was excellent. Not that I am any kind of judge for these things.
Thank you, Captain. But somehow, I have to come up with something that will inspire the shepherds of Bethlehem. That's not an easy task. In fact, I don't know where to begin.
Did you finish that song I heard you singing a while back and said that I liked?
No, I felt at the time it was inspired, but at some point I lost my way with it and stopped writing. It's the sort of thing that happens when you write a song.
That's a shame. I thought it had soul.
Soul? Soul. Maybe it does, Captain. I must go and take another look at it. Soul might be exactly what we're after. Thank you, Captain.
You're very welcome, Maestro Falsetto, sir. I'll leave you to get on with your work.
Are you telling me that my attempt at dream whispering last night failed to make any impression on Joseph?
I'm afraid that he forgot your dream whisper as soon as you'd finished saying it.
Well, it obviously doesn't work then, because I did things exactly as the book told me to do it. What?
May I ask, sir, which textbooks this was?
It was a book I found in the Advent Cottage library. I don't remember what the bally book was called.
Well, I believe there are several books in the library on dream whispering. I saw a Dream Whispering for Dummies book. Then there was How to Impress Your Friends with Your Ability to Dream Whisper. And finally, I saw a book entitled Make a Million Through Dream Whispering. Was it any of those books that gave you the information, sir?
Well, it might have been. I can't expect you to remember the title of every book I've read in the past week. Now, can I?
Did you read many books in this last week, sir?
Well, no, just the one, in fact, and that was more of a flick-through. But it told me everything I needed to know about dream whispering, and it clearly doesn't work.
Sir, the Dream Whisperer I first told you about is still here at Advent Cottage. So I was wondering, if he was invited to talk to us, he might be able to explain why your attempt failed to work.
Very well, Sergeant. Let's bring him in and talk to him. It was probably just some inflection of the words that was missing when I did it. The book I read really didn't cover inflections.
So, Lieutenant Toppers and Corporal Ronald, may I introduce you to the Dream Whisperer?
Ah, Mr. Whisperer. Thank you for being willing to help us with a certain matter concerning dream whispering.
You are very welcome, I am sure. What would you like me to do for you?
I need to do some dream whispering, but my first attempts didn't work. Probably some bally inflection thing, don't you know?
Well, let me see. There are only a few rules concerning dream whispering. Did you keep your message short? You can't give a long and detailed message through dream whispering.
Yes, I did. Kept my words to the absolute minimum, don't you know?
Very good, sir. Now then, did you whisper the message as quietly as you could?
I was as quiet as a jolly old dormouse.
Excellent. Then there is only one other thing to ask you. Have you been given the gift?
Gift? What gift?
The gift of dream whispering. It's a gift. Some people can do it and some people can't. So, have you been given the gift?
Well, that's not an easy question to answer. Who would have given me this gift?
The Almighty.
Oh, okay, well, probably not then.
Then you cannot do it.
How do we know that you've got the gift?
Because when I whisper into somebody's dream, they wake up knowing they've dreamt something significant, and they act on it.
Lieutenant Toppers, Sergeant Phyllis, and Corporal Ronald form a huddle and have a whispered conversation about this dream whisperer.
Sir, the dream whisperer is claiming he can get a message to Joseph, which will bring about a change in his behaviour. Should we at least give this whispering angel a try? If it works this time, we could use him again. He could end up being a very useful resource.
I agree with Corporal Ronald, sir. We should at least let him have a go. We can tell him what to say, and I would be happy to go with him to make sure he does exactly what we ask of him.
Very well, I'm outvoted. But if Mr. Whisperer here doesn't succeed with Joseph, then we will no longer be needing his services.
Agreed.
Dear listeners, you'll be pleased to hear that the second attempt to plant a message into Joseph's dream, this time by a bona fide dream whisperer, was a huge success. Joseph saw the foolishness of his behaviour and he quickly went and apologised to Mary. In doing this, he was setting a good example to all young men hoping for a long and happy marriage. So, with Mary and Joseph's relationship problems resolved, there seemed to be less of a need for an investigation into what they thought had previously gone wrong. Captain Gabriel's suspension was lifted, and he was raised to the rank of colonel, which from there on kept him in the planning room where he worked with the overseers. That's why we don't hear of him again in the Bible. However, you would be pleased to know that in time he and Overseer Mildred became good friends. Meanwhile, the dream whisperer continued to use his gift, later warning 3 wise men and Joseph about the evil schemes of King Herod. However, we never do get to discover the dream whisperer's real name. Lieutenant Toppers, like Captain Gabriel, also received a promotion because of his good work in Operation Rescue. About 50 years later, angels don't grow old, he was sent back to Britain, where he took command of a garrison in the northern part of the country, where he discovered people speak English in a different way. In doing so, he realized that he had a calling to teach the Northerners how to speak English properly. What? Sergeant Phyllis and Corporal Ronald left the Royal Signals at the same time and set up a business together selling cupcakes. Sadly, they were just too yummy to catch on. Most people in those days enjoyed a diet of raw fish and stale bread, and no one could see why anyone would want anything different. So, with the failure of the business, the art of making cupcakes was lost for many centuries until they turned up in the cookbooks of America. Soldier Barry was part of the company assigned to keep an eye on Jesus as he grew up in Nazareth. He had the rare honour of being one of the angels that looked after Jesus at the end of his time in the wilderness. After that, Jesus went round preaching and healing. The number of angels watching over him grew to more than 12 legions, and Soldier Barry was one of them. He was also one of those who wept to see Jesus nailed to a cross. He had such a strong desire to charge in with his sword and destroy those who were killing the Prince of Peace, but the soldier angel's orders were to stand back and not intervene. However, all of that is yet to come in the story of Jesus and his angels. Right now, it is the time to celebrate the birth of the King of Kings and the successful end to the first stage of Operation Rescue. When a celebration is in order, the angels love nothing more than to sing something joyful, and Maestro Falsetto has been working on just such a song. Well, they say, third time lucky. So, over to you, Maestro Falsetto.
Sought me and saved me, rescued and raised me, holy. Got a message to tell, calling out to the world. Come on and sing your praises, every boy and girl. We've been waiting for so long, expectation is high. With our feet on the ground and our eyes on the sky, we're singing holy, holy. Sought me and saved me, rescued and raised me, holy. The King of Heaven's among us, the King of Heaven is here. He's come to open our eyes and wipe away our tears. He will feed the one who's hungry, he will set the prisoner free. Pour his love into our hearts and declare a jubilee. Sought me and saved me, rescued and raised me, holy. Got a message to tell, got a message to tell, got a message to tell, got a message to tell.
Time and the snow's not falling. All around the world, you know they're rolling too. Lights gone out 'cause the wind stopped blowing. TV's off the air, there's no one watching you. And the turkey's wondering what to do. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. Don't count the cost, just follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus every day of the year. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. You won't be lost if you follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus
got stuck in the chimney.
Broken all the toys he has for me and you.
Drinking down the spirit that's in me.
Keeping us through the way he wants me to.
Santa's wondering what to do. Take up your cross
and follow Jesus. Don't count the cost, just follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus every day of the year. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. You won't be lost if you follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. Don't count the cost, just follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus every day of the year. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. You won't be lost if you follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. Don't count the cost, just follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus every day of the year. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. You won't be lost if you follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow Jesus.
Ever written anything nasty about King Herod?
Ever said anything nasty about King Herod? Ever thought anything nasty about King Herod?
You need
Swift from David.
Aren't they supposed to say it?
Right, okay.
Was that it? Sorry, that's what was in the script.
Well, you went through several notes.
Yes, yeah.
At one point you hit the note, and then you kept going.
I was a bit worried I started on the right note and therefore I tried to stick to a different note. Yeah.